Have you been accused of fraud on a Google review? We have a question in from somebody asking about a negative Google review. So the question is, I run a physiotherapy clinic in Brisbane with around 8 staff. Recently, we had a disagreement with a patient about the cost of a treatment plan. A few days later, they left a Google review saying our clinic engages in fraudulent conduct and deliberately overcharges patients. The review is still online and is now one of the first things people see when someone searches our clinic. Do businesses like me have legal options when something like this happens?
Yes.
So the first thing we're looking for is a publication. And here, the publication is in the form of a Google review, which is perfectly fine. It can be in any form, but a Google review is in writing. So it's nice and clear. It's date stamped, time stamped, usually discloses the person who has left the Google review. So that's nice and easy. The next thing is then sort of looking at whether or not the physiotherapy clinic itself has got the right to sue for defamation. So it needs to be can be a corporation, but has to have less than 15 employees.
So let's just say this physiotherapy business had 8 employees. They'd be fine.
That'd be fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. So we can definitely help in this situation. And where we'd start with is actually dissecting that Google review and ascertaining what aspects of it carry sort of defamatory imputations.
So when the defamation law talks about imputations, could you just explain what an imputation is? Obviously, it might be a word that's misconstrued or misunderstood. Essentially, what we're looking for is what does the punter reading the review actually understand about the person?
And what meaning do the words carry?
To the ordinary person.
To the ordinary person. So reading that Google review, knowing what they might know about that physiotherapy clinic. So that's, the very basics of it. From there, the Google review is something that can be taken down. And that would obviously be one of the main goals for this client, for this practice. So starting with a concerns notice would be probably the best way to go.
Yeah.
That concerns notice is going to explain what, it's got to describe the publication. It's got to explain what the imputations are, why it's defamatory.
What are the imputations here? You think if it engages in fraudulent conduct and deliberately overcharges patients, the imputations are probably exactly what the review says.
Yeah, it's pretty clear. They're calling this business fraudulent. And it's, it's on its face of it, it's defamatory if it's not true and there's no context around it and it's not just expressed as an opinion. So that's fairly black and white.
So you'd send them a concerns notice. The concerns notice, obviously it's a necessary thing that you've got to do before you commence a defamation action.
Yep.
What do you demand in the concerns notice usually, you think, here?
Look, it depends on how widespread the review, how it's impacted the business. You're obviously going to be looking at what serious harm has been caused to the business because of the Google review. Has it caused, clients or patients to stop attending the physiotherapy clinic?
Might have caused, if they get a lot of referral work,
Yep.
it might have caused referrers not to refer to them.
Yeah, and the first thing people do when they're looking for something is they look at the Google review. So it will deter people, and that's a big factor. There can obviously be a monetary amount attached to whatever that loss is. But then there's also things like getting an apology, getting a retraction, getting the post removed, getting your legal costs paid. Those are the types of things that we put in that. And it's really tailored to exactly what the publication is, because not all forms of sort of remediation are going to suit every publication the same way.
It probably also comes down to what the client actually wants. So what the owner of the physiotherapy business actually wants. It could be that they get it the day after it's been published. I don't know if they said that in the question, whatever. If they get it quickly, they might be less concerned about financial remedies and more concerned about just get it down as fast as you can.
Yep.
Whereas if it's been on there for a while, then they might be like, well, I actually don't know what sort of level of business I've lost as a result of this.
Yeah.
I think what's critical in these circumstances is for people to actually keep records of when people are telling them about it and when because it's hard in defamation to know what the actual loss is, because if you're not getting clients as a result of a bad Google review being there, you're not finding out about it.
Yeah.
So when it does come time to demonstrate the extent of the publication, how widely it's been read, you can infer, you can get stats and whatever from Google as well. But if you've got actual evidence of people having read it and saying, well, hey, like I actually read this, or even making an inquiry about it, saying, hey, I want to book an appointment with you, or I'm an existing client and I want to book an appointment. I want to keep going. I'm just a little bit worried about this Google review. Is there anything in it? I think one of the critical points that people need to understand in sort of where you take it next, you send a concerns notice. You demand that they take it down. The fastest way to get a Google review down is for the person who put it up to take it down.
Yep.
That's faster.
Yep.
You obviously also send a letter to Google, say, hey, we've sent this concerns notice to the punter that made the review. It's defamatory. If you don't take it down, then we'll come after you as well.
Yeah.
That could have great effect in getting it down too, but then they can publish another one. The next step, obviously, is commencing court proceedings against them if they don't do it.
Well, I mean, it depends on the nature of the publication. So in this instance, probably commence proceedings in the sense that you're suing someone for defamation to, recover a sum of money, get some relief in the form of, having the post taken down and all of that sort of thing. But if it's serious enough and it's affecting the business or the individual enough, you can apply for an injunction to have the post or the publication removed.
This is before the 28 days of the concerns notice expire, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it could be.
You do whatever.
You would do it if it was that serious. You'd probably do it as soon as possible. So
if this, for example, was, and when considering whether to take that step, it's about like commerciality often. So if it's a very, very small practice, going and spending that money getting an injunction might be out of their reach.
Yep.
But if it was posed in the context of the loss potentially being a whole lot bigger, one client might be worth $1 million, for example, then you might go and take that step.
Yep. And you do have to act pretty quickly. You can't action a defamation claim after 12 months from the date of the publication. So it is really important to move quickly.
Yeah, cool. What if this physiotherapy business, because I didn't identify how many staff they've got, if they've got more staff than the 15, and they therefore, as a company, can't bring the action, what are you looking for in the post in order to give someone a chance of bringing a defamation action? Look,
identifying a person at the particular clinic which is engaging in the conduct that it's alleged to be fraudulent. So if you are running a company and you're too large a company to sue someone for defamation, you want to look at is there a person that is identified here, or maybe not identified expressly, but identifiable, that is the person who would be running the business and engaging in this conduct, and if that's the case, then that individual might have the claim.
An obvious example here would potentially be, I mean, it probably wouldn't be the case because it's a physiotherapy practice, but if it was either the business owner or if it was they had one physio, or if it was an allied health business that had 20 staff, but the comment was specifically in relation to physiotherapy and they've got one physio, it's about that person. It would be reasonably inferred from the publication that it's about that person. So you'd be able to bring it. Critically, in bringing an action like this, you're going to want to make sure that the defamatory imputation is not true. So if the person who has been alleged to engage in this conduct has actually engaged in this conduct, it might warrant a different sort of approach because if the defendant or if the purported defendant seeks to defend it on the basis of truth,
then
it
you
might
have to expose your
there's going to be a trial about your reputation, and that's not always fun, as you can see, occurs in the press often. So cool. Thanks for asking the question and answering it, AJ. Very handy. Should we go to the second question?
Yep.
All right, great. 40,000 Facebook members and a comment about a dodgy builder who rips people off. Question number 2, called Dodgy Builder Facebook Post. I run a residential building company doing custom homes and renovations and have about 15 people in the team. The about 15 is going to be a problem with this one. Last year, we had a project where the owner stopped paying progress claims and we eventually had to suspend works. Recently, the owner posted in a Facebook community group calling me a dodgy builder who cuts corners and rips people off. The group has about 40,000 members and the post has hundreds of comments. Is there anything I can actually do in that situation?
Great question.
Seems simple, but there's a few moving parts to this one. So we'll hopefully assume that people have watched the answer to the first question, where AJ helpfully set the foundation of the defamation claim. So I think with this one, first thing to probably deal with is I have about 15 people in the team.
Yeah.
So obviously, as you said earlier, that's an issue if it's a company and you've got more than 15 staff.
Yeah, well, I mean, one of those very nuanced points is, what is 15 people in the team? Is it 15 full-time people? Is it 15 heads? If there are multiple companies all grouped together, do you include the companies? Do you include the subcontractors? All of that. So it's very complicated.
Let's just say, for the purposes of, because we've already dealt with the number of people thing, let's just assume he says down here that the owner posted calling me a dodgy builder who cuts corners and rips people off. He says calling me. Let's just say it named him as the person. She said Bill the builder is a dodgy builder who rips people off.
Sure it's not Bob?
Yeah, maybe it's Bob. It's Bob's brother.
Look, no, I was going to say that being a builder of a residential custom home builder indicates that there is one person that is the builder, holds the license, is running the show.
So even if they had more more than 15
Yeah.
people in the team and they
Yeah.
were excluded, for example,
Yeah.
there's still that angle that you could take identifiable from it.
Yeah, and let's say the building company is actually named there and the name of the building company is the surname of the builder. Dodgy builder, you could infer is that person that you were talking about.
They said that they suspended work because their progress claims weren't being paid. So I think if this problem came to us, the first thing that we would be asking Bob or Bill, whatever we called him, I can't remember, Bill, is, and this is necessary for us to be able to give him some advice on like how hard you go at this, is to get an understanding of, okay, like the context in which they suspended work. So there's another episode that talks about the right to suspend work. So watch that one. It's very educational. Not that entertaining, but very educational. Let's just assume that we're already act for him and he came to us and said, hey, this person's not paying me. And we determined that, yeah, look, they're improperly withholding progress claims. They're not allowed to. You can suspend work if they don't pay you, then you can terminate the contract, and that's what happens. So he's abided by the terms of the contract.
He's done what he's lawfully entitled to do. And so call him a dodgy builder who cuts corners and rips people off might infer that he's doing something unlawful.
What do you think when talking about defamation? We're obviously talking about the imputations that arise. This is a bit different to the previous question, where the previous question said that they engage in fraudulent conduct and overcharge patients. That was specifically saying they do these things.
Yep.
Dodgy builder who cuts corners and rips people off is more broad.
Yeah, look, I think that could speak to the quality of the build, the character of the builder, the integrity of the builder, how this builder is charging. There are so many imputations, but generally as a broad imputation, it could be that this particular builder is conducting himself unlawfully, not in accordance with, building code. Using the word cuts corners indicates to me that he's not following building code. Rips people off indicates that he might be overcharging people where he's charging people he's not entitled to under the contract.
Or not properly remunerating subbies that have done work for him.
Yeah. And really depends on who. I mean, this was an owner, but it could equally be a post by a subcontractor saying a similar thing. What's
the relevance of the 40,000 members, you think?
Look, that's a large Facebook group.
Very big.
But I mean, obviously that's really widespread. Yeah. And a community of Facebook group might be the place where this particular builder gets a lot of their work.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that could be, and if this builder's got otherwise a good reputation and then that gets hit, it's read by 40,000 people. They've got no reason to doubt it.
And I think the way that, like, if we were acting for him, the way that I would address this in the concerns notice is I would say something like, because if it's a community Facebook group, it's 40,000 people in a concentrated area.
Yeah.
And that might be the area where the residential builder does a lot of their work.
100%.
So I would say, to ensure that we're properly conveying how serious it is, this isn't 40,000 people in Australia. This is 40,000 people in those two suburbs.
Yeah.
And he gets all his work from those two suburbs or three or whatever. And I would look at the population of the suburbs combined and I would say 73% of the people in this suburb read that post. That's where he gets all of his work. So that then conveys how serious it is. And like we all know with these things, and we deal with this for clients who this happens to, often they find out about it because someone has gone on the Facebook page and realised that it's gone off. But yeah, like a comment like this, because the algorithm loves all the negativity, people go nuts on it, and then they might share their own views. So it's probably doesn't give us any information here about it, but there is potentially also liability on the poster for further defamatory things that people have said in comments on their original post.
Yeah.
How would you attack it with them?
In terms of?
Bob, Bill, whatever, Billy Bob, he says, I want it down.
Yeah, look.
I want money.
Yeah, I mean, you want to look at the original source of the post. You want to be issuing a concerns notice to that party, and I think the immediate thing you want done is for that post to be removed. Obviously, you need evidence of that post should, you want to sue later for damages. But in essence, if it's removed and all of the comments are removed, then that's great at actually restoring reputation. Yeah. And that should be one of the key things people want out of this process.
One of the things also in an instance like this, often like the builder will come to us and say, hey, when we say, what do you actually want to achieve? They don't know. They're like, obviously I want it down, but like, I don't know what level of compensation would compensate me for this.
Yep.
Restoring reputational harm, it is really hard to put a number on it.
Yeah.
Unless you actually know, I missed out on these 5 jobs because of this, and there could be evidence of like, hey, look, I was talking to these 15 people and they all ghosted me, and they're all in this Facebook group. So I'm reasonably inferring that that's in there. You're also limited, like in any action, not limited in what you can get an award of, but if you get a big award of damages against someone, they've got no ability to pay for it, then, you know, what's that worth? It could be, in this particular scenario, that a public apology that you're then able to post in the Facebook group actually does a lot of the work in restoring the reputational harm that's been suffered. And that might be
apology and retraction.
Apology and retraction, but one that is actually, like, we would draft it. We would, in our concerns notice, we would say, we invite you to make an offer to make amends, and that looks like this. And that is signing this statement, retracting it, and we're going to publish it everywhere. One thing you also might do is seek to, if you do get the retraction, depending on the level of exposure that you need, maybe seek to get further exposure. Like publishing it in the Facebook group is one thing, but getting further coverage about it might be better, you know. Putting it on your Facebook page and running ads to it maybe could work. Everyone's here said Ben. So cool. Thank you very much for your question.
Have you shared a bad Facebook post? You could be sued. Okay, question number 3. This is about sharing a Facebook post from a group. So someone has said, someone in a local Facebook group posted allegations about a restaurant having hygiene issues. I shared the post on my page saying people should probably know about this before going there. The restaurant owner has contacted me saying the allegations are not true and that by sharing the post, I've republished the defamatory material. Can you really get into trouble just for sharing something like that? What do you think, Ben?
Yes, you definitely can. And what the restaurant owner has said there is actually right. You're a republisher of the defamatory material. The effect of that is the same as a publication. So if you're publishing it or republishing it, then the liability attaches. Obviously, the extent of the loss that you might be responsible for depends on the context. So if someone's posted this, using two opposite sort of examples, if someone's posted this and the Facebook group's got no one in it, there's like 3 people in it, and they live nowhere near this restaurant or whatever. There's no significant publication to a relevant audience, and you share that, and you've got, going back to the last question, you put in a group of 40,000 people, then you're going to be more responsible probably than the person who put it in the group of 3. The other way around, if someone made it, you know, someone made a publication that was widespread in the media, for example, and then you republish that to your mate, you're going to be like, it's defamatory, potentially. You can be off the publication, but like if it was on the news and then you taser-mated it or whatever, it's probably going to be a little bit less serious. I think what's mostly relevant, what's critical here are the words. So she shared it on the page saying, people should probably know about this before going there. From my perspective, I would interpret that as the regular punter or the regular man on the Bondi Buff, as the law says. I would interpret that as, I've also been there and I've also experienced these hygiene issues. I also saw the cockroaches and the rats and the itis.
Well,
I wouldn't go there either. And you all need to know about this. So it's essentially endorsing it.
Look, and this is why we have to dissect what it says. So not just republishing the original post, but actually adding to it. And so what does the add-on mean? That of itself could be a defamatory publication. And if they've said, okay, people should probably know about this before going there out of, you know, concern, there might be some defense there. But if it's able to be inferred that that person is, you know, doubling down on that accusation, when they've got no context there about like why you think that is the case, then that is potentially a separate defamatory publication.
I think one thing that's probably good to jump into here that we haven't in the last, or haven't sort of needed to in the last 2.
The defense.
Defensive. So this person who shared this post, it's like, it is defamatory because it would make the ordinary person think less than they otherwise would have of the person about whom it's being made. Assume that the restaurant employs less than 15 people and blah, 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 all those things. So there's actually an action there to be made, and I think serious harm would be satisfied as well. The defense of truth might be available to. It's like, well, actually, I was having dinner there with my family and a rat ran across the table. And a whole bunch of other things. There was a toilet in the middle of the restaurant that had no walls around it, or whatever it might be. Whatever the actual person's experience is going to be relevant to how they defend it. So getting a letter from the restaurant owner saying, you've defamed me. If you're acting on the other side, you're the defamer, you're the person who the allegations are being made against in relation to the publication. You would go back and say, hey, this is true. And this is true because I think what's critical in nipping these matters in the bud when you are on the defendant's side, if you just write back and say, "No, it's true, go away," you need to show them that you've got evidence.
Yeah, yeah.
So the most convincing, because what you're trying to achieve if you get a letter like this is to make it go away. You prefer to not get sued for it. It's in making the person who is making the claim against you, making it really easy for them to make the decision to leave you alone. And by giving them the evidence that you're going to lead if they sue you, that's pretty powerful. They say, well, this happened to me on this date, and I took a photo of what happened, and here's the photo. Do you want me to put the photo on the Facebook page?
Yeah.
And they'll say no, and that's probably the end of the matter.
Yeah.
So any other defences that would be relevant here?
Look, I think the way that comment is worded, this person might argue that they've got what's called qualified privilege, and that is sharing information because there's a legitimate reason for the recipient to actually have information on that matter. That's a whole thing, but you might argue that posting it on a Facebook page is not where that information needs to be shared. You might actually want to call the health department.
Yeah.
And so, that's a matter of fact. So that can't think of anything else there.
Thanks very much for your question. You think lighting up a Karen who's left a negative review is a good idea? Think again. So here we've got a question about a business owner who has responded to a negative review. Can often be a tense place to be in the comments on a review on a Facebook page. I run a cafe with about 10 staff and rely heavily on online reviews. Someone left a very negative review saying our food was terrible and that we were rude to customers. I replied publicly saying the reviewer was lying and that they had previously tried to get a refund. Now they are threatening defamation action over my response. Can replying to a review create legal problems? Short answer, yes.
Yes.
Explain.
Explain. Well, there's a publication. The separate publication is that the comment is that the reviewer is a liar. And separate to that is that they've tried to get a refund, but that might not itself carry any sort of adverse meaning about that person, really.
Yeah, unless they try to get a refund dishonestly. Or something.
Yeah, but it doesn't really go that far. I think more to the point is that they're being called a liar, which is a publication of itself. I would probably question whether or not there's enough harm here about the person to really justify taking action.
Yeah, so it's not set in the context of that person's business, and if they're otherwise not a public figure and not don't rely upon their reputation in a public way, then saying in response to a review that's left on your business Facebook page or whatever it is, saying that they're lying and they previously tried to get a refund.
Look, it would be different if this person was a food critic.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
They were
That's why the context is important.
Very well known, or well known nationally or just locally, and that their business rided on them.
Let's say they're a food blogger.
Okay, well then, their reputation rests on them making honest reviews, and so to be called a liar, then that might be untrue depending on the circumstances.
And the imputation from that comment could be that they unreasonably and dishonestly use their influence over the public to get free stuff out of restaurants in exchange for leaving good reviews. That's what I'd understand that to mean. So I think that the simple answer is, if you make comments anywhere, that's the publication. It doesn't matter the context in which they're made. If it's the original post or a comment on a post or whatever it might be, you're liable for what you say and you're not immune online. I think it's probably worth dealing with something here that hasn't popped up yet. What if, let's say the shoe's on the other foot here and the person says, look, they're threatening me over defamation, but then you know who they are. I was going to ask the question, what if you didn't, we can still deal with it, if you didn't know the identity of the person making the original post, because we get that a bit.
Yep.
So often it's the case where someone leaves a review and it's got they're doing it from a burner account or whatever it might be.
Yeah. I mean, there are ways to get the identity of the poster, even if they're anonymous, and that involves a separate application to court, which is pre-litigation application, which is costly, and you're going to be trying to compel, let's say it's Google, to disclose the identity of the poster. That's the whole point of that.
So I mean, here, and why my question fell on its head is because they're written to us, so we know who they are.
Yeah, and look, I was going to say, in this situation, the first thing you're going to do is okay, they're threatening defamation action. So I assume that they've received a concerns notice. Maybe not. Maybe it's just in a short email, or maybe it's in response to the post itself. But actually identifying how are they making that threat? Are they issuing a concerns notice? If they are, you need to see a lawyer. You need to have that concerns notice looked at. Is it a valid concerns notice? Have they identified the publication? All of that sort of thing. Then you can start to look at, okay, what are the defenses? We've got to respond to this. If there is a easy way to make this go away without it escalating to legal proceedings, then make that offer early.
For sure.
Yeah.
And there's also there's cost benefits in making offers, because if you make a reasonable offer and they knock it back, and then you end up having to sue them, and you're able to demonstrate that they failed to accept the reasonable offer.
Itself is a defense. So definitely getting that threat looked at pretty quickly as well is important.
Cool. Thanks very much for your question.
Talking shit about someone on text or WhatsApp, you can be sued for that. Okay, we have a question about a private message this time, which is pretty interesting. So the question is, I'm a subcontractor who works on residential developments. I sent a WhatsApp message to a few people saying, be careful working for this developer because they never pay their bills on time. This message got forwarded and has reached the developer. Now I've received a letter from their lawyer threatening defamation proceedings. Can something like that still amount to defamation even though it was sent in a private message?
Again, yes. Every time, yes. Yeah. So critically here, what does there need to be?
Well, there needs to be a third party, and you can't defame someone to their face when no one else hears it or sees it. There has to be a third party. The publication has to be between the publisher and someone other than the person who is allegedly defamed. And a private message fits that bill.
Yeah, whether it's private or public or whatever,
it's
not relevant for the purpose of determining whether there has been a publication.
Yep.
So, I mean, and something like be careful working for this developer because they never pay their bills on time. What's actually understood from that? Is it understood that, I mean, you want the context of the whole message, because that's what's relevant. If the whole message is about they didn't pay this one bill on time and then the never bit is a bit looser, or if it's, I've worked for this person, they have not once paid their bills on time and they still owe me money, or they paid a day late or whatever, you have to look at the context of it. But on the face of it, it's probably it is defamatory. It would cause someone to think less of this person than otherwise and would consider whether they want to work for them or not.
Yeah. And look, I think this person you wouldn't send that message to you. So they're sending it to other subcontractors, I would say, or contractors. And that matters because this developer is obviously needing to utilize subcontractors and contractors from time to time. I've had situations where someone has sent an email, and this actually happens a lot, sent an email to a person's employer. And it's no different here. So that message, that one email has been sent to one person, no different to a text message to one person or a WhatsApp to two people. But it's sent to a person who, if that person thinks less of the employee, will have grave consequences. So
similar consequence in someone giving, forget about whether you can legally do it or not, but someone getting called for a reference.
Yeah.
And saying, no, don't employ this person. They stole from me or whatever.
Without context. And that could obviously be
so that's to one person still defamatory. So I think the thing that's most important to look at here is, okay, what's the context in which it's been said? And then what is the ordinary grapevine effect? What's the natural probable result of talking to these people? It's probably that they're going to repeat it to other people. Probably depends how close you are with them. But if you're saying it to other people in the industry, then the natural probable consequence of what you've told them is that, or you saying it to them rather, is that they're going to tell other people, and that's how it finds its way back to the developer. And in reality, that's what happens.
Yeah.
You hear things pretty quickly that have been said about, or people where these things have been said about, and it gets back to them relatively quickly.
Yeah, I think I've also had situations where text messages have been circulated but not identified by the person who's being defamed for 12 months or more.
Yeah.
And in that instance, 12 months has lapsed.
Yeah.
There might be arguments as to, if you're pretty close to the limitation period, or limitation date, that you can get that extended because you've only just found out about it.
Yeah. Or it can be postponed if in other instances. But
But it's just unfortunate in this situation. It did get back to the seriously.
The thing that you'd probably be attacking here, if you acted for the person who made the comment, you'd be saying, look, whatever, but you haven't suffered any loss. You won't suffer any loss. I said it to 3 people, and you probably just it depends upon the personality and the character of the person who you've defamed and what their propensity is to go after you for it. But you'd be trying to achieve a position to avoid getting sued, because it's probably open. that this won't be fun. So it could be making a good offer to make amends is what you'd be doing here, and making one where if they do sue you, then you're going to be able to engage that as a defense.
Yeah.
Certainly ignoring it's not good, and I'd be dealing with it head on to try to resolve it before it gets further.
Yeah.
The other thing to also think about is like, if they never paid their bills on time,
Yeah.
then
Okay.
it might
could
be,
be.
yeah, I said they never paid their bills on time, but they actually never paid their bills on time, and they're widely known in the industry for it. And there might be some other like publicly available information that proves that. And so you might say, yeah, well, look, I defamed you, but it's true, or I haven't harmed your reputation at all because your reputation is lower for these other reasons. So
Yeah.
critically though, answering the question, like, yeah, you can say it to one other person, and that's all that matters. You know, a Facebook message, a comment on a phone call, saying something to someone at a pub or any other establishment.
Yeah, I
Can
think
bring you unstuck.
in a previous question, we talked about, republication. So the person who's received this original WhatsApp message might have forwarded on to the developer. The context of that being forwarded on to the developer is important, because it might have been inadvertent and they didn't mean to, and they've republished it, and that could itself be defamatory. Or they could be sending it to the developer going, hey, I just received this, just so you know. That of itself is not going to be a concern. So the person who's forwarding that is just got to be careful about the reason you're forwarding it on, who you're forwarding it to.
Thanks very much for your question. Thanks for tuning in to this week's episode on defamation. As you've just learnt, if you're going to say negative things about people in any sort of a forum, whether it's public or private, you can be liable for defamation proceedings. So just be careful with what you say. And if you desperately need to say something and you're uncertain about whether or not you can, then get some advice about it. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our updates and any further episodes where we answer other questions rather. Also, please submit any questions that you'd like us to answer. Till then, we'll see you next time.